whoa, what? Selamat, ben KAYLA SIERRA ve yepyeni bir videoda tekrar hoş geldiniz. And for all of my English speakers out there, hi guys, I'm KAYLA SIERRA and welcome back to a brand new video. I have a super exciting announcement to share with you guys. Honestly, I do not remember if I even told you guys this. If I didn't, I was dead wrong, but now I am. Back in July, I published the ebook version of my poetry book, Black Girl Bleeding, and I had a lot of people asking me if I was going to do a physical copy. Many family friends, church friends, you know, were saying how they wanted to be able to buy multiple books and have me sign them. I really wanted to do a physical copy. Like, doing an ebook never really crossed my mind. It was always like, okay, like physical, but the platform that I use, Draft Digital, which is a great platform to use to publish books, but at the time I didn't have enough pages to be able to do a physical copy. I believe for Draft Digital it's like 60 pages. I knew I had kept like prolonging publishing the book, and I really didn't want to force myself to come up with more, because then it wouldn't have felt like genuine, or like these things were coming out of me naturally. It would have been like, no, like you have to like force these poems out of you, sort of thing. And so I was really happy with what I put out. It was published on my birthday and I received a lot of love on it, and since then I've been giving it a lot of thought. I don't want to just put out like a physical copy of the book, of the version I've already published. Like, if I'm going to do a physical copy, like I'm going to actually spend the time and pour more poems into this thing. And so I was able to come up with 7 new poems for the paperback version of Black Girl Bleeding. This is like so surreal, like holding a book that I wrote. Like, my face is on it and everything. Black Girl Bleeding is really like the past 6 years now of my life. Last year, you know, it was published 2025, so it was technically the last 5 years. Now it's 6 with these new poems. I really have no words truly for what Black Girl Bleeding means to me. It has changed my life in a lot of ways, because I've never been this vulnerable with folks. Because then this is not just me being vulnerable with like my mama, my family, and like a few like friends here and there. Like, this is out for the world to see. Like, I've got people telling me that they're sending it to their friends, folks I don't know. And it's kind of like, okay, like, I guess your friend can read it. But I think that's the beauty of healing, and that's the beauty of finding your voice and wanting to be able to share that, like, yeah, this is how I was feeling, this is what I was going through, but look at me now. Like, I'm not stuck in those thoughts and those emotions. I've been able to come out of it stronger than ever. And I just hope everyone who reads Black Girl Bleeding can find themselves within these pages and just feel connected somehow. I don't know how it's gonna resonate with everybody, but that's just like my hope for anything that I ever write, that people find a connection with it and that they can relate to it and say like, wow, this thing made me feel something. And instead of going back to Draft Digital, I went on Amazon to publish the paperback. And a quick little funny story. For some reason, when it was asking about like the measurements of the book, I was thinking it meant the measurements of like the page. So like what I'd written the poems on, which I wrote them on Google Docs. So on there, you know, it's 5.5 by 5.5. It's 8.5 by 11. So that's what I put. And I went about my day until, and quick side track, shout out to my little brother, Jonathan. The day was published and like I told, my family was the first people I told. He went ahead and bought it for me so that way I could have a copy on my own. So shout out to you, Jonathan. I love you so much. So when I opened up the package, because he called me and was like, oh, like see what packages it is, or whatever. And I saw it and I was like, why is it so big? And then I remembered, I'm like, girl, you put 8.5 by 11. I think it's funny. Me and my dad were both like, you know, it's like a little coloring book. I think it's great. Little mishap, but it's not anything that's like so crazy. I kind of love the fact that it's big because, as I said in my Instagram post, the author is larger than life. So it's just meant to be. And like I said, I wrote 7 new poems in this book. And I do have my favorites out of, and I don't actually know how many poems it is in all. Some of my favorites would have to be definitely The Black Woman, Melanin, Blushin', I love Marathon, C13. Of the new ones, I would probably have to say Masterpiece, Sins of a Lover Girl, and there is a really special one at the end, which I'm really excited and kind of nervous for my family to read. If you want to know what it is and what it's about, you're gonna have to buy the book and read it for yourself. I will put the link to the book in the bio, and I just want to say another thank you to everyone who has supported me with Black Girl Bleeding. Now into today's topic. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I just came up with this video. Like, I was supposed to record yesterday. Today's Thursday. I was supposed to record on Wednesday, but after running a few errands for my mother dearest, I got home and crashed for like 2 hours, and then woke up and was like, oh, like, okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of reading, and then had to leave to go to my friend's house. So it just didn't work out how I thought I was going to. And so then I was like, okay, record the next day. And all the while it was like, but what are you gonna talk about? And I just figured it out as like I set up everything. And honestly, after I did my intro, that's when I figured it out. Like, I went ahead and I recorded the intro and then was like, okay, now find something to talk about, which I don't recommend. If you're wanting to start your YouTube journey, please, or anything in general, like if you're having a set plan and like what you need to write, do, figure it out before the moment you're doing it. As soon as I saw this thing, I was like, immediately, yes, like I would love to talk about this. So for today's video, I will be ranking these popular romance tropes and kind of discussing whether or not I like reading them in books or not. Last year, I had done a post about how I would react in like different romance tropes. It's no longer on my Instagram. It is on my TikTok though, and I kind of had my little quips and like gave examples for each trope. So this is going to be kind of like that, but going a little bit more in depth and how I feel about each trope. So let's get started. The first trope we have is fake dating, and a really good example of this would be The Deal by Elle Kennedy. And while I do really enjoy this trope in books, personally for me, you know, I'm not sure what you guys may want to experience in your love life, but if a guy ever came up to me and was like, hey, like I need you to pretend to be my girlfriend or whatever, especially under the guise of like, I'm trying to make old girl like jealous or something like that, I'd have been like, no, because I'm not gonna pretend to be your girl, because then like I have to know things about you. People are gonna be asking me questions. Oh, when did you meet? What's this da-da-da-da and da-da-da? And sometimes, you know, you can work it out like, okay, like these are kind of like the basic things you need to know about me. And, you know, so like when people ask, like this is like what it is. But people are going to expect me to kiss you. People are going to expect me to be up on you and stuff. And it's like, you're really not my man. And then what if I was trying to be with oh boy and now I'm in a situation? No, and then me being me, I would low-key start being like, okay, like why are you looking at me like that though? Like I thought we were supposed to be like, this isn't like a real relationship. Like the lines are getting blurred, like we're going out on dates, you're looking at me and your eyes are sparkling, like what is happening? All of a sudden, like, you know, like the senses get like heightened and stuff. All of a sudden, like I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he smells so good, and like I love being in his arms. Absolutely not. What am I supposed to do now that like, okay, like this thing worked or it didn't work? Now we're just done? I really think that, yeah, you can fake being with somebody, but how do you stop like the feelings from coming up? And as we can see in a lot of fake dating situations, the people always end up together because it turns out to not be fake at some point. So while it does have its good points, I just think realistically, I would laugh in a man's face if he tried to be like, oh, like pretend to be my girlfriend or whatever. It would have to be someone like I knew. But even if it was someone I knew, if any one of my male friends came up to me and was like, Kayla, pretend to be my girlfriend, I'd be like, what am I gonna get for it? You don't get girlfriend prices for free. What are you gonna give me? And not to say like, oh, like you wouldn't help out a friend, but like, why am I helping out a friend? Because this is just different than like, oh, I'm at a bar or I'm in a club or something like that, and someone's bothering me, so I go up to someone and I'm like, hey, can you pretend to be like my boyfriend to get this person off my back? That's different, because that's in a moment sort of thing. I'm not asking you to go on for however long and to pretend to be my person, and then we go our separate ways. No, I just can't wrap my head around being in a fake relationship. Like, why would I want to do that? I'm way too much of like a lover person to ever be like, oh my gosh, yes, I'll be your fake girlfriend. Because then I'm going around like, that's my man. Like, I'm gonna do it to the fullest extent. Like, it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, yeah, they go together. So that way then, like, if we didn't end up falling in love with each other, which we would because I'm amazing, then everybody will be coming to him like, what did you do? You lost a good one and all this stuff. Yeah. So I personally would never want to do fake dating. I love it as far as books go. And actually one of my favorite Turkish shows, I wouldn't say they're fake dating. They fake engaged because they pretending like they're engaged, but it is all fake. So that way the dude can pay for her to go to school and he's trying to make his ex jealous, which is kind of messy because he's trying to make his ex jealous, but he really didn't want her. He just didn't want her to be with her then fiance. He was just mad he couldn't have her no more, which he was the reason why they broke up anyways. It was a whole lot of, but him and old girl were meant to be. Love them down. The next trope is enemies to lovers, and a really good example of that is Twisted Hate by Anna Hong. This one's gonna be rather short because just as I said in that post about how I would do in different romance tropes, for enemies to lovers, my stance will always be once an op, always an op. There's no changing like, oh, like I hated you and now I love you. If me and you don't go together, I can't stand being around you. It's just like every time you're in my vicinity, I don't have any peace. You really just like irk my nerves, the fact that you're breathing. I don't want to then always be around you. And like once you like hugging on me and kissing on me and touching, no. I think I see the appeal for it. Me personally, I don't see how you go from hating someone like so like fiercely to loving them. It's questionable at most. I think there are levels to enemies to lovers that I can get down with and that I'm like, okay, like I see it. The problem I have with enemies to lovers is I think authors sometimes spend too much time in the enemies phase, or they make them like really like deep enemies to where you're basically bullying each other. Like you've caused bodily harm, you've embarrassed them in public, you've called them out of their names, you've done all this stuff to them, disrespecting them beyond regard. So why would I then turn around and believe a word out of your mouth of you saying, oh, you're the most beautiful person in the world and I love you and I can't stand not being around you? I've feared for my life when I was near you and you expect me to now want to be next to you? That's when I think it's a little delulu. When we spend too much time in the enemies phase and then walk with me, it's, oh, we're enemies for like this much chunk of the book. They have sex right here and then lovers. That's how it feels like. Just because you hunched and bunched at one point of the book doesn't then mean, oh yeah, we go together. That's not how that works. 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 That's not how it works. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. That is such a horrible depiction of enemies to lovers. But then it's such a horrible depiction of the turning point in which you become lovers. It gives a wrong stigma to girls and guys that you can have this tension and like bad vibes with a person, but as soon as you hop into bed, all of a sudden it's like, and then don't get me started on like the actual like scene of it, because it can be so demeaning. And like, I can understand, you know, I'm not knocking it if people like that kind of content, they like that kind of smut, they like reading those sort of books. If that's you, more power to you, because you can actually get through it. I cannot. I just don't think personally it's a good representation of enemies to lovers. I've never gone deep into the realm of enemies to lovers. I've only read, I think, 2 besides Twisted Hate, Fourth Wing. I looked through my entire bookshelf and I don't really think I have any other enemies to lovers. But one that I think does a good job is like office rivals or like academic rivals. Like that makes sense to me. Oh, immortal consequences. I feel like that kind of makes sense. It's not necessarily like so enemies, but it's like, I don't like you, you don't like me, we don't go together. Like, but there's also a thing of like, we push each other to be better. So I feel like in that sort of way, that's kind of like a remnant of the lovers trying to like push his way in. But the fact that like they're so like focused on, oh, you annoy me, oh, I can't stand her, it gets blocked out. I will never engage, not in this lifetime, in enemies to lovers. I don't really consider anybody an enemy because I don't have that sort of time and energy to give to a person to be like, oh no, I don't like you on that sort of level. I won't know. If I don't like you, I really don't like you. You know, love all God's children because that's what he calls us to do. No. I think, no. That's my full answer. I don't think I have to explain anything else. I thought this was going to be a short one, and then I went on a whole monologue. The next romance trope is friends to lovers, which this is definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite romance trope. A good example of this would be Powerless by Elsie Silver. Friends to lovers is how I envision my own love life. It's my favorite. It definitely is. I think friends to lovers is the most natural way to fall in love. And in that being said, because I know people have a lot of discord about whether men and women can be friends, you can be friends with a person of the opposite sex and never get feelings for them. I have male friends who I've never thought of in that way, and I'm sure vice versa. It's possible. But in those cases where two friends do end up being in a relationship and they do end up falling in love, I think that's such a great way to start a relationship because, and I've said it, all my friends know that this is my stance on romance and being in a relationship. A friendship is the best foundation of any relationship. If we don't have a friendship, how are we then gonna build off into a relationship and being in love and like trying to spend life together if we can't be friends with each other? If we were never friends with each other? Knowing you in all your forms without there being like the pressure of, oh, like I need to impress this person, or I have to put on an act to make sure that like that she sees me or he sees me in a certain way. When you're friends, that whole layer of like feeling the need to impress or put on a front, there's no need for that. And why I think it works both in books but then also in real life is because there is a natural level of stakes when it comes to discovering you have feelings for a person who you consider a friend, because it's like, oh my gosh, like, will he or she like me back? Will they see me the same way? Like, how do we then like not ruin the friendship if we try to go down this route and it doesn't work out? Like, is the friendship like salvageable? Like, can we still be friends, or is it going to be ruined and everything like that? Because you never want to ruin your friendship by expressing that you have feelings for a person, and if they don't like you back, or you try to work it out and it doesn't end up going the way you want, you know, it can be disheartening, and it can sometimes just kind of leave a bitter taste in people's mouth, and it's like, okay, we need to kind of take a step back, or we just aren't finna be friends anymore. That can cause a lot of problems, and it can be really taxing to think about. It causes a lot of people to not express how they feel. I'm currently in a situation where I have a little crush on a friend of mine, which is a whole lot. I'll get into that in my therapy session. But I feel like you have to also have a certain level of boldness when it comes to having feelings for a friend, because if you can't go to your friends about how you feel, like, who can you go to besides the Lord Almighty? Amen. And, you know, besides, of course, like your parents, your siblings, if I can't go to my friends about my issues, my feelings, my thoughts, like what I'm going through, then it's kind of like, why are we friends? And how I view friends to lovers, I think it takes two people, of course, who are very mature enough to have hard conversations on like, okay, I like you, you like me, where do we go from here? How do we want to navigate this? Like, what does this thing now mean for our friendship? And some people might say like, oh, the talking stage is kind of like where you build that friendship. The talking stage is me finding out if I really like you and if I actually want to be in a relationship with you. That's what the talking stage is to me. I will always eat down friends to lovers because, once again, I visualize it for myself. The next trope is Grumpy versus Sunshine, and a good example of this would have to be Reckless by Elsie Silver, and another one would be The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. These two books are very different when it comes to Grumpy versus Sunshine. A lot of times when people hear grumpy versus sunshine, it's the guy who's grumpy and the girl who's sunshine. In terms of the fine print, the guy's definitely grumpy and the girl's definitely sunshine. But for Reckless, I kind of see it opposite, where the girl's a bit more grumpy and the guy's more sunshine. I don't have much of an opinion on grumpy versus sunshine. I do like the trope. I believe it's a trope that you will also see in everyday relationships. Like you see like that stark difference between a couple. That's why I think grumpy versus sunshine works, because it's more of a personality sort of thing rather than like a situation that like me and another person are in. I think grumpy versus sunshine is a great trope. I think it's well written, at least in some of the books that I have read. So grumpy versus sunshine is definitely a trope that I don't ever mind reading. The next trope I'm going to talk about, I'm actually going to combine two together, is love triangle and forbidden romance. Love triangle, a good example of this would definitely be like The Selection, Legendborn, Fourth Wing, ACOTAR, Hunger Games. A lot of books for some reason have love triangles. I was never big into math and shapes. The only shape I really loved was hearts and diamonds. I don't want to be in any sort of whatever. If we are at an acute angle, no. Like, I do not ever, never want to involve myself in a love triangle. It's one of the most heinous things created and thought of, and like I don't understand how it's romanticized, because having feelings for one person is already ghetto and it's a lot and it can just feel so overwhelming. But you want me to have feelings for two of these hoes? No. I care about my mental health too much, and that I just can't understand these two people who, obviously if I have feelings for them, they must have good qualities. And I'm spending time with them, and one of them's in my ear saying, oh, choose me, don't love him. And the other ones, we're meant to be together, it's me, you know it is. No, especially if like one of them was there first and then the other one just kind of popped out of nowhere. I would rather do anything else other than be in a love triangle. I don't understand people who like it. I don't understand what's to like about a love triangle. I can understand like the stakes being raised. I can understand like, ooh, drama. But like in a mental standpoint, I feel like no one wins. Even if like two people end up together, I really don't think you win in the end, because now because of your relationship, you've now broken another person. Oh girl, because then it's like, oh girl, like how do you choose? How can you like how can you definitively say you are who I want to be with? Like it's you, I do not want him, I don't have feelings for him anymore. Like how does that happen? Love triangles are what's wrong with the world. I believe authors should just stop writing them, because honestly, you know, and Twilight's another example. I just thought of that. And it can be kind of like cool because, you know, we have the whole team Edward, team Jacob. Like it's fun and dandy. It is what it is. It wasn't until I was in middle school when I first read the book and like I watched the movies. And when I watched them, I was like, oh, it was Edward all along. Like, I guess I see people who are team Jacob, but I'm like, even during New Moon, sister was all about Edward. Like we didn't all watch the There's a Possibility scene. I don't think I ever really saw how Jacob had a chance with her. Maybe in Eclipse, maybe, but even then, like that's like a hard maybe. It was always Edward in my mind, because as we all know, or if you don't know, you're really late, the whole attraction, which is weird, that Jacob really had towards Bella was because of Renesmee, who is her child. Does that mean that he was pining over an egg? That's so weird. Anyways, I'm not gonna talk about that anymore. As far as forbidden romance, why is it forbidden? I don't think I have a example for this, but why can't we be together? What has happened in our families and history, whatever it is, that we can't go together? Because if it's forbidden, then at some point when people find out, it's gonna be a whole lot of there's gonna be people arguing, and I don't want to get locked in a tower. I don't want to go to jail. Like, if we're not supposed to be together, if it's to the point where the word forbidden is in there, then no. And like a real like reality like standpoint, you know, I can understand like if like a parent thought like this is a bad influence, like you're forbidden from dating this person, da da da. That's different. Cause then it's like, okay, if you're forbidding me from being with this person, they would have had to have done something heinous for me to not, cause it's not even like I'm not allowing you to date this person. You are forbidden is such a strong word. That's not just like you're not allowed to, or I won't let you do this. You forbade me from being seen out in public with this man. That's kind of deep. And I think we kind of I need more information for forbidden romances. All right, guys, so those are all the romance tropes that I'm going to talk about. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. A lot of people when they're searching for books go based off of the tropes that they like, the themes that they want to read about. If I just want to read a romance book, I could just find a romance book. I can just pick up a random book. A lot of people don't like the pregnancy trope. That's a big one that people actually not even don't like. They despise it. So if they're trying to find a book, they are going to make sure, like if they're searching up one, that they do not choose one that has a pregnancy trope. There are a lot of good boards on Goodreads that actually people have sectioned off like different books in their tropes, so that way you can find books that you actually want to read. As you guys kind of know, me and romance are at a standstill right now, and I'm actually reading Beyond What Is Given by Rebecca Yarros right now. I read, where is she at? Eyes Turned Skyward by her. This is a series that she has. I believe it's Flight and Glory. Not sure I fully understand what's going on. Do I know that I am annoyed and I really don't care for this couple? Yes, but that'll be for a different review for another day because I'm not finished with it, so my opinion may change. Just like that, we are at the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. As far as my reading go, guys, I am not doing very good. I do not know why this reading slump has attacked me full throttle. I am 4 books behind schedule. I think I've read, let me see, 3 books so far in March. I know I said I wanted to read 10, so I really need to pick it up. And it's partly because I have all these for dummies books. And for these ones, like I'm reading public relations for dummies right now, but whilst reading it, I'm also taking notes. So I'm moving at a very slow snail pace with it. And so thankfully I do have this book by Rebecca Yarros, and I actually just picked up a few more books from the library today. So hopefully a fire will be lit underneath my butt and I can get through these books to get back on track. If you haven't already, make sure you guys are following me on my social media platforms at KAYLA SIERRA. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel and share this with all your friends. I've been KAYLA SIERRA, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!